everything from the counter. "I've got to get the classroom set up before the students get here." "You take the small stuff. I'll get the bottles." Savannah grabbed the grocery bags. They walked through the door behind the sales counter and into the classroom. "Why all the bottles? I thought the students were to bring their own." Amanda dumped her armload of supplies onto the nearest work table in the first row. The room was arranged into 3 rows, with each row containing 2 standing-height work tables that faced a whiteboard at the front of the room. "I'm so nervous I can't think properly. I kept having a recurring nightmare that no one brought any bottles, and so we couldn't have class, and then I got fired. As soon as I decided to bring these, I started sleeping." She stepped behind the instructor lectern and opened up her notebook to the first page. "Thank goodness you made me create a teaching plan." She looked up with a blinding smile. "If I get lost, I know what should come next." Savannah placed a wine bottle and a vodka bottle on each work table. "I'll get these while you arrange the distribution of the handouts. We'll be done in a few minutes." Even though it was Amanda's first teaching experience, Savannah felt confident the new class would be a success. Everyone loved Amanda's sunny disposition and eternally cheerful optimism. Students already sought her advice about the color choices among the racks of sheet glass available for sale at Webb's. Capitalizing on a new crafting trend called upcycling, they had created a workshop to convert ordinary wine bottles into cool cheese trays, transform long-neck beer bottles into quirky spoon rests, and flatten vodka bottles into wall clocks. They touted the workshop's value for those interested in striving toward a responsible, green, zero-footprint lifestyle. Once the bottles and handouts were distributed and the classroom was ready for teaching, Savannah stood in the doorway with her arms folded. "Don't be nervous. You're going to be terrific. You know your subject backward and forward. Plus, who wouldn't like you as their teacher?" She grabbed Amanda and gave her a bear hug. "Besides, I'll only be a quick phone call away if anything horrible comes up." "Horrible?" Amanda's eyes opened wide, and she clutched Savannah's arm like a fledgling barn owl. "What do you mean by a phone call away?" "I need to open up the new 22nd Street warehouse studio. This is the first time Jacob will be working in the new workshop. His mother is driving him down there, but she wants to speak to me first before dropping him off. Understandable, since he doesn't like new routines." "He is 18 now. I was working on my own when I was 16. "You weren't diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when you were a small child. Working with my dad in the glass shop has made an incredible difference to his self-confidence, but he still hasn't learned to drive, and he still hates talking on the phone." The warehouse studio was a new venture inspired by the growing number of glass students who had taken classes at Webb's and had graduated from beginner's status. These students needed a workspace, as well as continued guidance and instruction in technique. The historical, family-owned Webb's glass shop didn't offer the amount of space required for this, since there were only 4 small rooms. Customers entered the display room, which was filled with student artworks for sale, along with a sales counter. There was a supply room to the right, filled with everything an artist might need, from sheets of glass to soldering irons. In the back was a classroom large enough for 6 students and an instructor. At the very back end of the shop was an office, a restroom, and a rear door that opened to the alley. In order to start Webb's studio, Savannah had used some of her inheritance to buy a run-down warehouse. It was a risky and bold move, but one she hoped would pay off. She had found the perfect site not more than a 10-minute walk away from the shop, on the corner of 4th Avenue South and 22nd Street South. Amanda took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. "Of course, but couldn't you stay until all the students arrive? Pretty please?" She pressed her hands together as if in prayer. Jacob Underwood was the only carryover staff member from when Savannah's late father owned Webb's glass shop. Although he had managed his Asperger's syndrome well, it had been a lucky day when Jacob discovered the joy of glasswork. Now he thrived in his role as apprentice and stained glass restoration expert. Still, an 18-year-old of any sort needed firm guidance and frequent reminders.